Hi everyone, Materim here. I know it's been an awful long time since I have done any battle reports, so we've got something a little new for you. The guys have decided that we're going to leave Ninth Age behind for a little while and give a try to a new game. So this is my first battle report of Kings of War. This is also my first game ever of Kings of War. So we're going to kind of learn together and see how well this game kind of fits what we're looking for. So Michael and I got together today. He brought his dwarfs, and I am using an elf force with some allies from the Kingdom of Nature. And we'll go ahead, pretty much one of our standard style maps. The rocks there in the center and off to the left are level 1 hills. We got a forest, some obstacles, buildings, that sort of thing. So pretty good area to fight in, and we're not doing any special scenarios just for this first time. We're just going to kind of throw at each other and see what happens. Alright, so starting with the Dwarfs Deployment, on the far left we have an Iron Belcher organ gun. Next to that is a regiment of Iron Guard with the Dwarven Throwing Mastiff and the upgrade to two-handed weapons, as well as the Fog. Next to that is a unit of Iron Watch rifles. This one has regiment. This one has the Jar of Four Winds. Next to that is another regiment of Iron Watch rifles with the Brew of Keen-Eyedness. Then there is another regiment of Iron Guard with the Dwarven Throwing Mastiff and the Dragon Shard Shield. Behind that is an Army Standard Bearer. Then we have another unit of Iron Guard regiment with the Dwarven Throwing Mastiff and the Crystal Pendant of Retribution. Behind them is the King on Large Beast with the Medallion of Life. And on the farthest end is another regiment of Iron Guard with a Dwarven Throwing Mastiff, the upgrade to two-handed weapons, and the Brew of Strength. Then we have the Steel Behemoth, which is represented by the copter models there. Then we have another Iron Belcher organ gun, and at the far end there is an Iron Belcher cannon. All right, on my side, on the left, I'm going to start off with one of my allied units, a regiment of Forest Shamblers. Behind that is an eagle that I'm using as a Pegasus from the Kingdom of Nature, or the Forces of Nature as well. Next to that is a unit of a Kindred Archers regiment. Then there is a Hunters of the Wild troop. Behind that is a Tree Herder with the Healing Charm. Then there's a second unit of Hunters of the Wild. Behind that is a unit of Kindred Tall Spears with the Brew of Sharpness. Next to them is my Elven Mage, who has Banechant, Lightning Bolt, the Sabertooth Pussycat, and Wind Blast. She's also wielding the Shroud of the Saint. Then there is another regiment of Kindred Archers, another regiment of Forest Shamblers, and on the far end a unit of Stormwind, or a troop of Stormwind Cavalry. So, reason why I built this is that there is so much fun Vanguard stuff, I decided to try and make use of all of it. So I'm kind of hoping to hit my opponent very quickly and not have to worry about too much of that shooting. So we'll see how that goes. As you can see, everything that I could Vanguard up did so, mainly aiming for his front lines in the center. But I think I've got the 2 units of the Shamblers set up so that I hopefully can get some flank action if I can kind of bait him into coming out. So I got the first turn, went ahead and moved up some more. I know you can't really see it due to the way the forest is built, but my tree herder with the healing charm is hiding in the middle of the forest now. I charged his 2 units in the center with Hunters of the Wild. Not really sure how good they are. Since this is my first game, I figured I would test them out real quick. Maybe I should have tried throwing them both at 1 unit. I'm not entirely sure there. Shamblers are running to get the organ gun on the side. Hopefully I'll be able to get them surged into something, but we'll see. Pegasus is hanging back to provide support and go for the organ gun if the Shamblers can't get there. Over here I'm doing the same thing, moving the Shamblers up so that hopefully I can get to them via surge, get them into something. And pretty much everything here in the back is just starting to move up so I can get some shots off. I was thinking of using the Stormwind Cavalry to go after his Behemoth because frankly I didn't really know how good that thing was. So I'm definitely bringing a little, well, I'm bringing a little tiny unit to a tank fight, and that's probably not going to prove too smart. Over here I did surge during my shooting phase and it did not go very much. I did surge over here and also didn't get as much as I wanted, so now I'm in real trouble as I've set myself up for a forward and a flank attack that I'm probably not going to be able to survive. I ended up doing some shooting, I think, with the archers and put 1 wound on his king in the back. I did some more shooting from maybe from the other hunters or the other archers. Got a couple of wounds through on his tank or on his his tank, whatever it is. So we went into combat. My guys on the right here completely bounced off the unit. They did nothing. The guys on the left did pretty well because they're up against his range, so that's not to be unexpected. Put 4 wounds on them, but were unable to roll high enough to impact them at all, so we just bounced off. So during Dwarf turn 1, he's going to send those Iron Guards straight at the face of my Shamblers. He also charges in with the Iron Guard in the center, trying to pick off my Hunters of the Wild. He does not bring the shooters in on the left there because he wants to use his shooters that are next to them, the riflemen, to go ahead and finish off that 10-man unit as well. And pretty much as predicted, he swarms the Shamblers on the far right here. He moves up his Steel Behemoth, does not charge him, just moves him way up in my face. And does a breath weapon, but only does 1 wound and doesn't rout me or have any real great effect there. Then he ends up catching the cannonball in the face of my tree herder. This is the tree herder I forgot to mention that has the Banner of the Griffin on him, so him getting rid of that one would be very, very helpful to him. But ends up opening up on him and putting 6 wounds on him, but I get lucky with the nerve roll and I'm not wavered or routed. Shooting continues over here. The hunters pick up 4 wounds and panic. Yeah, I guess they don't like catching gunfire in the face, so they're the hell out of here. Over here, his Dwarven Iron Guard put 6 wounds on the Shamblers, but I managed to hold things together. Combat goes here. I don't even recall how many wounds he put on me, but it was a lot, and they broke with no real issue. And of course, this went pretty much like I expected. The Shamblers got swarmed because I was stupid. This game works so different than other war games I've played. I'm really kind of out of my element. I'm having a good time, and I'm certainly enjoying pushing models around on the table again. But I really have to get an understanding of these armies and find out what I can face off against, frankly. And so here's basically where his units end up after they do their pivoting and or moving. So he's still got a pretty solid line. Haven't really done much to him, and I've lost a lot. 3 units already before turn 2. So I decide to come back at it. I fly the Pegasus over to do combat with the tank or the organ gun, and I send my Shamblers back at his Iron Guard. Over here, I just start moving everybody up. I need to take some time to use these archers to shoot and weaken some of these units before I send my tall spears into them. Over here, I decide to go ahead and send my Stormwind Cavalry back into the Behemoth. Again, I think I'm kind of underestimating things, but if you don't try, you're not going to learn, right? I also move the Tree Herder up top and bring my caster around, my Elven Mage around, so that she can hopefully heal him before he gets blown off the table. I also use the heal on the Shamblers here, and they get a couple of wounds taken off of them, so not too bad. Because I don't remember if I mentioned it, but yeah, he's the one that has the healing charm. This Tree Herder that's in the forest still. I do some shooting here on the Iron Guard unit that's forward up. Managed to put 2 wounds on it. And over here, the Pegasus stomps a mud hole in the organ gun, thanks to me rolling double 6s, and after doing only a single wound. So even if my tactics aren't up to speed, it looks like my random dice luck is working for me. And it works again as I do a couple of wounds here to the dwarves and end up rolling my second consecutive double 6s and rout that unit as well. Over here, I put more wounds on it than maybe I should have expected. Brought them up 4 more wounds here. Unfortunately, I'm still not going to be able to break the Behemoth, and now I'm in a lot of trouble. You can also see during, I didn't take a separate picture of it, but during the magic or the shooting phase, I cast heal on the Tree Herder, and I healed him for 4. So go to Dwarf turn 2, and in comes the Behemoth and his king on mount into my cavalry. The other dwarves push up pretty hard, getting ready to threaten my characters that are up there on the hill. And again, he's just pushing on me. He knows that I'm going to have to come deal with him because I don't have... I mean, he's got such a high defense, the bow shots just aren't really doing much, so I'm going to have to figure out another way to deal with him, and he's going to put pressure on me until I do. Brings up his army standard so that he can keep supporting him, his units there. And he does some shooting here, I think with the unit on the left, and ends up putting 2 wounds on my Tree Herder. He does some shooting to my Elven Mage and manages to put a single wound on her. And he's letting loose the Mastiffs. That's what he's doing. So he let loose the Mastiffs on the Elven Mage. She took a wound. He let loose another unit's Mastiffs on the archers here. They took 4 wounds. And sorry for the blurry picture, but the 3rd unit's Mastiff hits this archer for 2 wounds as well. We roll the nerve checks, and he ends up shaking, or what the word is. I'm still learning all these terms, but basically these archers now can't do anything, and I really needed that not to be the case. Over here, holy Christ, does that tank kick ass. Between the tank and the Dwarf King, I take 11 wounds to my cavalry unit. And they decide that discretion is the better part of valor and certainly the better part of being run over by a freaking tank and get the hell out of Dodge. So my next turn, I go ahead and send the tree herder into the flank of his dwarf king. I send the tall spears into his unit of Iron Guard. And I was kind of thinking, well, you know, more attacks are better attacks. So I sent the archers in as well. Again, mainly because I don't know how to play this game yet. And I didn't stop to look at how awful they are in close combat. Nor did I really pay attention to the fact that they had to cross into the forest. So they end up being hindered for this combat. And that's not good. Oh, and I move the, this is what this is. I basically get my mage off of the hill so that he can't keep shooting them with stuff. Over here, oh, you can also see I basically charged my tree herder and the shamblers and the Pegasus into that unit in the back. There's a better look at that. I don't know where he picked up the extra wounds, but I guess that was from the last combats. I throw heal on himself, so he heals himself from 4 to 2 wounds. And over here, my tree herder absolutely brutalizes the Dwarf King, and he routs. Over here, I'm not nearly so lucky. I don't do very well at all. I get, I think it's 2 more wounds through, and he is not bothered by that at all. And so we bounce off, and now I'm in a lot of trouble. This fight goes much better. The forest folk are absolutely destroying the dwarven shooting line, and I did just a crazy bunch of wounds, and they end up routing. And then here is how things are after the fight. I back up a little with the tree herder, run the shamblers forward, and I think I ran the Pegasus forward too, or the eagle forward, and he didn't go any, but like 1 or 2 inches. So we go into Dwarf Movement. He's just turns his cannon here to get a look down the far end of the field, and his behemoth is starting to come around the hill to go hunting my mage because he's kind of getting tired of her being able to heal stuff. Archers, oops, yeah, there it is. So he sees the back end of these archers with the breath weapon from the behemoth, lets loose on them, does 8 wounds, it looks like, and they end up routing and running off. Over here, he does some shooting, decides he's essentially going to let me have the other unit of riflemen that he has to take the opportunity to shoot my archers, and manages to put 7 wounds on them. And the combat goes very, very, very badly. I take enough wounds where he doesn't even really have to roll the dice. I make him do it anyway because he could roll double 1s, and he does not oblige me. So the tall spears get crushed. And this is what he looks like after he runs his right side unit forward and just reforms with the left unit. He figures he's probably going to pick off my archers with them next, and I don't really doubt that. Oh, I guess he charged the other unit into my my tree herder because it looks like he managed to inflict 1 more wound there and bounced off. So my turn, I go ahead and ram the shamblers upside the his riflemen here, figuring that they'll be able to take them off the board because they're already pretty wounded. I sent my Pegasus Eagle to go get his bannerman. It looks like I came in the rear here, but we actually checked the rules, and I think because I was on his flank, I had to go in that way, even though I did have a 90-degree turn I can make. So we actually fix that here in a minute. I run my tree herder back at his iron guard, and I keep running my wizard or my mage around so that he can't get a line of sight on her. Problem is I only have so much more that she can go around the hill before she'll be targeted by that organ gun that's up in the top corner. Over here I do heal on the archers and heal them for a couple of wounds. And I heal the tree herder and get rid of all of his wounds. So here's where you see I fix the Pegasus Eagle. I end up getting one wound through, but he's not in any trouble there, and I bounce off. Over here, the Shamblers do very well. I do enough wounds to rout his unit of riflemen, so I've pretty much cleaned up that left flank, and now I just need to get in the middle and help out everything that's going badly there. And I run forward a few inches. Over here, my tree herder does very well, 6 wounds, but it's not going to be enough to make them run off, so we're going to sit here and go back and forth at each other for a little while. Dwarf turn, he reforms to start hunting down my Elven Mage. Reforms on this side, he's going to start either setting up a charge here or start shooting me. I'm not really sure which. And he shot with something. I'm guessing that must have been the cannon. Yeah, it was the cannon. So the cannon shoots the Pegasus in the face, only does 1 wound, but it rolls well enough to go bye-bye. Over here, combat, he did charge my archers. It goes very, very badly for me. I take 10 wounds. And over here, he puts 3 more wounds back on my tree herder. Tree herder stands firm, and he has to back off. So did the archers. So I don't run the archers in, but I end up, because he had to bounce off, my shamblers come into the rear, and the tree herder goes into the flank. So I'm hoping with the bonus attacks that I'll be able to wipe these guys off. And looks like things are really starting to go my way. I end up doing another heal. I think I healed twice on the archers and got them back down to only having 3 wounds on him. And combat goes very, very well. Needless to say, the Dwarven Iron Guard here are routed. And I reform as such, hoping to try and catch this lone bannerman before he causes too much trouble. And this tree herder manages to do, I think I did another 5 or 6 wounds on the Iron Guard on this side, and it was enough cumulative at this point to break them. Now, at this point, my opponent is getting ready to throw in the towel. He says, "Hey, you win. I'm done. I surrender." And I was like, "No, this is our first game. Let's play it out to the end and see how it happens." And in doing so, I kind of stopped paying attention and turned my tree herder to size up the behemoth, which leads to this. I wasn't paying close enough attention and did not realize that my rear was within 8 inches of the Dwarven Iron Guard that he had turned around. So on his turn, this is his turn 5. He ends up getting them into the back and the tank in the front, and I am in all sorts of trouble right now. And then his bannerman runs off like a little bitch. Not that I could really blame him. And then he draws line with the organ gun and blows my Elven Mage to hell. Only did 3 wounds, but then rolled well enough to rout her, so that's not good. I got no healing left, and I don't really think I've got a way, given how far away I am, to stop those dwarves from just destroying the hell out of my tree herder. Yeah, so here comes in 13 damage. Does not actually manage to roll high enough to rout the tree herder, only wavers him. So I'm pretty good, but I'm stuck here in the middle. Now, the problem is that looking back on this, I realized that I could probably have turned him 90 degrees and gotten out of here, provided that I wasn't wavered, of course. But I wasn't even thinking that that was a possibility because I'm not used to being able to pivot and then get out. But maybe I can't because it's so wide. I'm not sure. There's still a lot of stuff about this game I'm having to learn. Not that it really much matters because he's wavered and there's no real room for him to go anywhere. But he is not long for this world. Over here, I try and push up as hard as I can to direct myself, my shamblers, towards the back of his the Iron Guard, hoping that if I can get a real good roll on the Surge, that I can get him in the back there. Unfortunately, I'm far enough away where I have to actually get 7 successes on the 8 dice Surge to be able to get in and enter combat with the Iron Guard. So it's kind of a long shot at this point. I also spin around my archers to try and take some pot shots at his bannerman. During magic, I end up not getting but about half the distance, so I'm not going to really stop anything there. I do end up putting another wound on his banner bearer. During dwarf turn 6, he charges back in, and it's a bad day for this tree herder. He runs his bannerman to go hide in the forest. He's not dead, he's just is right at the edge of the forest and can't stand on it because it's a little raised. He ends up opening up with guns on my shamblers and blows them all to hell. And then the poor tree herder is beat within an inch of his life. For a game that my opponent was about to surrender a turn and a half ago, it has really turned in his favor at this point. We do not, and the game ends on turn 6. So, it ended up being a minor win for my opponent. The dwarves ended up being ahead by like 350 some odd points. Had to win by 200 to get the victory here, but he did it. It definitely kind of surprised him that he was able to turn the game around. One of the things that was always kind of an issue with Warhammer and Ninth Age was that once the game starts going against you, it's really, really hard to turn it around. And so most of the time when things went bad, it was just better to throw in the towel. But I think we learn now that that's not the case. Things can change very, very quickly in Kings of War, and I certainly like that. I think we had a really good time. We're still learning the rules. The way the maneuvering works is very different. The way combat works is very different. I know he was grumbling about my double 6s twice to destroy half his flank. But I made the point is like, yeah, I was rolling double 6s, but it still didn't help me win the game. So it's not an all or nothing sort of thing. I definitely think there's some changes that I need to make in this list. I definitely think I put too much emphasis on the Elven Mage. I bought her a bunch of spells she never got a chance to use because I was healing all the time. And just kind of learning how the matchups really need to work and how to, frankly, just how to play better. But it's fun. It was a very quick game. It let us push our models around on the table, which is always a plus. And it was just a lot less of a headache than either Warhammer or Ninth Age was. So I definitely think the group, from what we were talking about, none of us really want to go digging into Ninth Age right now because the second edition of their rules is starting to come out, and it's just more effort than it's worth is what it feels like. From a personal point of view, I think Kings of War is much easier to pick up, so I think we're going to be happier with that. I also like the established lore. I've been reading through it. I could definitely see myself running narrative campaigns in this. And it's better than playing a game that doesn't really have any established lore or has very little of it. So I think we're going to give this a try for a while. Hopefully that means that the battle reports will come, and hopefully there's an audience for Kings of War battle reports. But if you guys have any advice on anything I could do better, any ideas with my lists, I got a second game in with, he's playing the same list versus my Salamanders. So I'm going to be trying those out and see how I like those better. But if you have any comments or suggestions or anything, certainly please leave them in the comments section below, and I would be very appreciative. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.